As I sit here in our rooms in Baker Street, recording some of my extraordinary experiences as the friend and colleague of Mr. Sherlock Holmes, it occurs to me that many of our adventures begin within these walls. But this was not always so. One exception that comes to mind is the curious affair of Mr. Wallace Abrahams and his unfortunate brother, which I will attempt to relate here from my notes and the vestiges of my recollection. We had visited Lestrade at Scotland Yard on Holmes's insistence. For once it was my friend who congratulated the inspector on his successful handling of the case that sent Kirkby to the gallows. "You did well, Lestrade. He was a particularly brutal murderer." "The difficult part of it all was proving that Kirkby was in London at the time," the little detective said. "He had half a dozen witnesses who swore that he drank with them in a pub in Brighton that same night. The witnesses were so adamant that I doubted that their testimony was bought," Holmes recollected. "When you requested my assistance, my first act was to examine the official records to ensure that Kirkby had no twin or close relative of similar appearance. Finding none, I journeyed to Brighton, and eventually discovered a local stage actor of small parts who looked enough like our man to have needed no more than a little make-up to complete the deception." Lestrade nodded. "Your help saved me from much embarrassment, Mr. Holmes, as well as preventing a guilty man from cheating the law. One thing has always puzzled me, though." Holmes brought his gaze back from a study of the inspector's ceiling. "Pray tell me. I will enlighten you if I can." "When the actor was brought to London to be charged as an accessory, we saw how close the resemblance was. Yet you had no difficulty in telling the two men apart at any time. How were you able to do this?" "This mystified me also," I remarked. "There really is no mystery about it." Holmes gave one of his quick, patient smiles. "Did either of you notice a peculiarity in Kirkby's mode of dress?" Lestrade and I glanced at each other, and then it came back to me. Kirkby never wore a cravat. He tied a scarf around his neck. "Excellent, Watson. You will recall that the actor, Merton, dressed similarly to aid the prosecution's case in demonstrating that one man could be substituted for the other. He had been promised leniency for doing so." "I remember," said Lestrade. "Then the difference becomes clear, does it not, when we remember also that Merton was formerly a naval man? He tied his scarf in another fashion, a seaman's knot." "It seems to me that it should be I congratulating you," Lestrade said. "All that was left for me was the arrest, thus adding one more to your considerable record." Holmes picked up his hat and got to his feet.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.